A famous quote by Albert Einstein says that God does not play dice with the universe. What does that mean? Einstein believed that the course of all events is predetermined. That is called determinism. He was not happy with quantum mechanics, which he considered a temporary theory that needed to be overcome. It was not the ultimate understanding of the universe, according to him, because quantum mechanics says that at the level of the infinitesimally small distances, the phenomena, the quantum phenomena, are basically throws of dice. That means that you have an input out of which several outputs can follow. Output 1, output 2, etc. And each of them has a definite probability to occur. That is called quantum uncertainty. Basically, you cannot predict the future from the present or the past. Every quantum phenomenon is creative. It's a choice that is being made, because nobody can predict which output will follow from the same input. I have a view that is quite opposite to the one of Albert Einstein on this, and indeed I think that quantum uncertainty plays a fundamental role in the universe, and actually it is the explanation of life. To the extent that recently I published a paper on this. You can find it on my website renormalization.com, as well as on many repositories, and now it is under consideration by a regular journal. The title of the paper is "Let the Dice Play God." Turning around Einstein's quote, "God doesn't play dice," I say that let's consider the opposite possibility, namely, why not let the dice play the role of God in what? In explaining life, basically. Because this is the basic claim that I give in the paper, namely, I define life as the amplification of quantum uncertainty up to macroscopic scales. And so a living being is any amplifier that achieves this amplification. Basically, what happens? If we go back to our drawing here, the quantum phenomena average when they are gathered together in huge numbers. And the effects of quantum uncertainty average to zero. So if you consider, for example, a macroscopic object like a table that is made of many atoms, of course each atom is subject to quantum phenomena, but the point is that when they are gathered together, so many atoms are gathered together, the effects of quantum uncertainty average to zero, and the table is still stable, deterministic. But the point is that this is not the only possibility to combine quantum phenomena together. There are other possibilities. In particular, it is possible to combine them together in order to amplify, instead of reducing, amplify the effects of quantum uncertainty till they reach the macroscopic scales. And this is what a living being is. So in the paper I argue that everything we know about life can be indeed explained out of this. So let's move, for example, to the paper and see what I mean by that in detail. The phenomena concerning life are very complex. We have will, thought, intellect, intent, choice, consciousness, the unconscious, we have the brain, pain, pleasure, and then at the level of the species or life itself instead of individuals, you have reproduction, evolution. How can we explain these things? Can we really explain everything as a resultant of many quantum phenomena? Yes, I claim that, and in the paper you can find the explanations. Just to give you an example, I tell you what is will in my understanding. Normally you think you have will, freedom, and maybe free will. Well, instead what happens is that your choices, our choices, the choices of every living being, a pet, a wild animal, they are all consequences of quantum phenomena that occur in the cells of their brains. And once the decision is made quantum mechanically, not by you because there is no you, and not by a will because there is no will, before it is enacted, before it is transformed into an action, there is a delay normally, it stays in your brain, in your memory, as an internal sensation. That is what you call will. Will and intent do not make decisions. They are the first internally perceived sensations after the decisions have already been made, not by you, but by quantum phenomena in your brain, before they are turned into effective actions. This is will. Then you can check how the other main activities concerning life work. And in particular, life and death are two phases of matter, two opposite phases of matter as far as the amplification of quantum uncertainty is concerned. Interestingly, you can speculate about creating artificial life using these ideas, because now there is nothing that stops you from creating living beings which live artificially, which we might call Q-droids or anything you want. Beings that are animated by the quantum phenomena that occur in them. And I actually offer this as one of the best ways to confirm my ideas, because I think that once we will be surrounded by Q living companions, Q pets, for example, whose behaviors will be unpredictable, precisely as unpredictable is the behavior of a dog or a cat or a person, well, we will be convinced and we will call them alive. The other point I want to make here is very important, a very important result of an investigation that I made. Let's check here from the abstract, because it concerns the amplification of quantum uncertainty. And the question you might ask is, how probable is that such an amplification occurs spontaneously in nature? What is the mechanism of amplification? So the domain of quantum mechanics is the atom. One atom exhibits quantum phenomena. Fine. Very good. But our cells are made of a huge number of atoms. Is it possible to have this amplification from a quantum object, that's the single atom, to 10 to the 13 objects that, instead of averaging quantum uncertainty away, will amplify them? Well, you can calculate the probability, and the probability is too low. So low that if you take into account of the number of atoms in the universe and the life of the universe, there is no chance whatsoever to have life in any part of the universe. Life on Earth should not exist because it is so unlikely that it cannot exist by itself, cannot form spontaneously. But life on Earth exists. Life on Earth does exist. So this scenario is excluded. Instead, if you assume that there is a ladder amplification mechanism, everything changes. What is a ladder amplification mechanism? Instead of assuming that the amplification from one atom to a cell occurs with one jump, you assume that there are several steps. From one atom, you make a jump, the first jump, to a structure, let me call it S1, made of 10 atoms. And then a second jump. From S1 to a structure S2 that is made of 10 structures S1. And then a third jump. From a structure S2 to a structure S3 made of 10 structures S2, and so on. And then with the 10, 13, from 10 to 13 jumps, you can easily get an amplification of 10 to the 10, 10 to the 13, which is what you need. Now, if you repeat the calculation of the probability, in this case, by assuming that there is a lamb in the universe, then you find that the probability is 1. The probability of the amplification is so large, probability equal to 1, so large that every inhabitable planet should be by now inhabited. And that means that since we exist on Earth, nature must be equipped with the right amplification mechanism made of 10, 13 steps, which might be, from, for example, from the atom to molecules, from molecules to macromolecules, from macromolecules to more complex structures, which might be ancestors of relatives, of prions, of ribosomes, of virions, viruses, and then DNA, and RNA, and then the simplest cells and bacteria, prokaryotes, eukaryotes, multicellular beings, and so on and so forth. In biology, the steps have not been completely determined, but I can tell you from my calculations, those steps in the universe, in nature, must exist, otherwise life on Earth or anywhere would not exist. Since it does exist, the probability, so there is a lamb, and the probability of having the amplification is so large, equal to 1, so close to 1, that every inhabitable planet must be inhabited. And that means that there might be billions of inhabited planets in the universe.